I had always believed that a man's land was his sanctuary. Out here in the Texas Hill Country, where the sun melted over rolling fields and mesquite trees clawed the horizon, the line between independence and intrusion was sharp as barbed wire. That was why I built the gate. Heavy iron posts, reinforced hinges, and cedar planks wide enough to stop a herd more than just a barrier. It was a statement. The land was mine. No one had any right to walk through without my say-so. But that was before the letters started showing up at first. I laughed. The neat envelopes with the HOA seal Homeowners Association carved into the header like it carried the weight of the law. They claimed my gate violated community aesthetics and obstructed uniform visibility lines. What nonsense. My nearest neighbor was nearly a mile down the gravel road, separated by open pasture and dry creek beds. Who cared what my gate looked like? It was a working ranch, not some golf course subdivision. Still, the letters kept coming. The language shifted from polite requests to official warnings, from warnings to ultimatums. They quoted bylaws I had never agreed to and levied fines that I ignored. I had bought this ranch outright, cash on the barrel, long before the new development crept in from the city. Yet somehow these paper pushers believed they could reach their claws this far. Into my soil the day it came to a head was blistering hot. I was fixing fence posts near the southern pasture when a black SUV rolled up the dirt road and stopped at my gate. A woman stepped out, clipboard in hand, wearing a suit that screamed city office, not country dust. Her heels sank into the caliche, but her posture was stiff with authority. "Mr. Kavanaugh?" she called, her voice sharp against the cicadas. I tipped back my hat, wiped the sweat from my brow, and walked to the gate. "That's me," I said. "I'm Arlene Draper, president of the Homeowners Association for Cedar Grove Estates," she announced, as though I should be impressed. "You've been issued multiple violations for this gate. Today, I'm here to give you your final notice before legal action is taken." I leaned against the post, letting the silence stretch. Her lips pursed, like she wasn't used to waiting. "This land isn't part of your subdivision," I said finally. "It's a working ranch, registered and taxed as agricultural property. I don't owe you a damn thing." Her eyes flicked to the clipboard. "That's where you're mistaken. According to county records, your parcel falls within the extended boundary of Cedar Grove. As such, you are subject to community guidelines." "Community guidelines?" I laughed. "Lady, the only community out here is coyotes and cattle. No one's got a problem with this gate but you." She didn't flinch. "Failure to comply will result in court action. Your gate will be forcibly removed and the cost will be added to your fines." That was when something cold settled in my gut. Not because I feared her threats, but because I knew the type. The kind of person who mistook paperwork for power, who thought a signature could bend land to her will. "You try to take down this gate," said my voice low, "and you'll be trespassing. You understand me?" Her chin lifted defiantly, but I saw the flicker of hesitation in her eyes. She wasn't used to someone staring back. Finally, she scribbled something on her form, snapped the clipboard shut, and marched back to her SUV. I thought that would be the end of it. But the next morning, I woke to the sound of an engine idling near the gate. When I stepped onto the porch, coffee in hand, I froze. It wasn't just her SUV this time. A work truck was parked behind it, loaded with tool saws, drills, chains. And behind them, a county sheriff's cruiser. Lights off, but presence unmistakable. The woman stood by the gate again, only this time she wasn't alone. Two hired men hovered near the truck, ready to dismantle what I had built. The sheriff leaned against his cruiser, arms crossed, hat pulled low. I set the mug down and walked toward them, boots crunching gravel. Every step was slow, deliberate. "Morning," I called. The sheriff's gaze rose to meet mine. His expression was unreadable, the kind of calm that only comes from too many years in the job. The woman, however, turned with a smirk that dripped with victory. "Mr. Kavanaugh," she said brightly, "you've left us no choice. We're here to enforce compliance." I stopped at the fence line, inches from the gate. "With a sheriff as backup, huh? What did you tell him, that I'm some kind of criminal?" Obstruction of community standards is a legal violation, she replied crisply. The sheriff is here to ensure safety during the removal process. My eyes flicked to the lawman. He hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. But there was something about the way he studied McQuiet. Deliberate, that unsettled me more than her smugness. Sheriff, I said, turning toward him, you and I both know this land doesn't fall under her HOA. I've got the deed and the records to prove it. You really going to stand by and let them trespass? Finally, he pushed off the cruiser and walked forward. His boots struck the dirt with slow, measured thuds. When he reached the gate, he rested one hand on the iron bar, eyes scanning the heavy construction like he was sizing it up. Then at last he spoke. You built this yourself? Every bolt, I said. He nodded once. Solid work. The woman bristled. Sheriff, we're wasting time. These men need to begin dismantling. But the sheriff didn't move. His gaze cut to her, and for the first time, confidence faltered. I'll decide when work begins, he said. The air thickened. The two hired men shifted uncomfortably, glancing between the sheriff and their employer. I felt the first spark of something shifting. Something she hadn't planned for. What exactly is this about? I asked, my voice steady. The sheriff's eyes returned to mine, and in them, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. It wasn't just authority, it was calculation. Like he knew more than he was saying, and in that moment, as the woman pressed her lips thin and the workers hesitated by their truck, I realized this was no longer about a gate. It was about something much bigger, something I wasn't ready for. And when the sheriff finally stepped fully inside the gate, closing it behind him with a heavy clang, the woman's face went pale as stone. She froze, every trace of smugness gone, as though she had just seen the one thing she hadn't counted on, whatever was coming next. I knew the fight over this gate was just the beginning. The clang of the gate echoed across the dry pasture like a gunshot. Sharp and final. The sheriff's boots scuffed the dirt as he stepped deeper onto my land, his shadow stretching long in the morning light. Behind him, the woman Marlon Draper stood rooted in place, her knuckles white against the clipboard. For all her bravado, she hadn't expected this. What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice cracking as she tried to steady it. "You're supposed to be overseeing removal, not trespassing." The sheriff didn't answer her right away. He scanned the yard, the barn, the house, and finally me, like a man putting puzzle pieces together. There was a weight to his silence, and when he spoke at last, it was low and deliberate. "Ma'am," he said without looking at her, "you'll want to stay right where you are." Her jaw slackened. "Excuse me?" I said, "Stay put." His tone carried the kind of finality that comes only from someone used to being obeyed. I felt the hairs on my neck rise. This wasn't routine procedure. I'd been around lawmen before. Most did their job with the bare minimum of interest. But this sheriff's presence wasn't about a property dispute. It was about control. "Sheriff," I said slowly, "you mind telling me what's going on?" His gaze flicked to me, sharp and measuring. "You've stirred up some dust out here, Mr. Kavanaugh, and I'm here to see where it settles." The woman sputtered. "This is outrageous. These men were hired to remove that eyesore, and you're interfering with an association order. I'll have your badge for this." The sheriff ignored her. He reached for the gate latch and locked it with a quick, practiced motion. Then he leaned one hand on the top rail, his eyes boring into me. "You built this gate for more than cattle, didn't you?" he asked. The question hit me like a stone to the chest. For a second, I considered lying, brushing it off as rancher pride. But something in his expression told me he'd see straight through it. "I built it to keep out people who don't belong," he said finally. His lips curled in the faintest shadow of a smile. "Smart man." Marlene's voice rose, shrill and panicked now. "Sheriff, this is not your concern. This man is in violation of quiet," he snapped, his voice carrying like a whip crack. She flinched, eyes wide, and for the first time, I saw fear replace arrogance. The two hired workers shuffled their boots, exchanging uneasy glances. One of them muttered something about not signing up for this, and the other nodded, retreating toward the truck. "What exactly are we dealing with here?" I asked, my chest tightening. The sheriff stepped closer. lowering his voice so only I could hear. Let's just say there are folks looking to push boundaries out here, developers, investors, people with money and influence who don't care much about the law. His eyes flicked briefly toward Marlena. She's a pawn. Maybe not even aware of the whole picture. Her head snapped up at that. I don't know what you're implying. But her trembling hands betrayed her. The sheriff didn't let up. They want your land. Every acre. And they'll use any tool at their disposal to get it, including her association. It all clicked then. The letters, the fines, the sudden expansion of HOA jurisdiction. It wasn't about aesthetics or community standards. It was about control, forcing me into a corner until I either folded or sold, my fists clenched. Not gonna happen. The sheriff's eyes gleamed, almost approving. I figured you'd say that. But understand this, Kavanaugh, they won't stop. You stand your ground, they'll escalate. First paper threats, then forced compliance, then... He let the word hang heavy in the air. I swallowed hard. Then what? His gaze sharpened. Then they come in ways less official. A chill ran through me despite the Texas heat. I thought about my barn, my livestock, the quiet nights when the ranch stretched silent under the stars. Easy targets, all of them. Marlene finally found her voice again, though it trembled. You can't talk to him like this. I have authority. The sheriff cut her off with a cold look. You've got as much authority as they gave you, and they'll strip it from you the second you stop being useful. She froze again, color draining from her face. It was dawning on her that she was expendable. Just like anyone who thought they were safe behind contracts and signatures, I took a step closer to the sheriff. So why are you here? If you know all this, why not stop it at the source? His jaw tightened. Because the source isn't in this county. Hell, maybe not even in this state. My job is to keep peace where I can, and right now, that means making sure this doesn't turn bloody. The way he said it calm, certain made my stomach twist. He wasn't exaggerating. He was warning me. Then what do you suggest? I asked. He studied me for a long moment. You keep this gate. You keep your eyes open. And you be ready. With that, he turned and unlocked the gate, stepping back outside. The two workers had already climbed into their truck, unwilling to linger. Marlene stood trembling, her clipboard hanging useless at her side. The sheriff's gaze lingered on her, and he spoke one last time. You're done here, ma'am. Don't come back. She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. She simply nodded, stumbled toward her SUV, and slammed the door. Dust kicked up as she sped down the gravel road, vanishing into the horizon. The sheriff tipped his hat to me. Good luck, Kavanaugh. Then he walked back to his cruiser, climbed inside, and drove off without another word. For a long while after, I just stood there, staring at the iron bars of my gate. The morning sun burned high, but the chill in my chest wouldn't leave. I'd thought this was about an HOA dispute, about stubbornness and pride, but now I understood was about a war being waged far above my head, with my land caught in the middle. That night, as I sat on the porch with a rifle across my lap, the crickets loud in the darkness, I couldn't shake the sheriff's words. They'll escalate. Sure enough, in the weeks that followed, the pressure mounted. Strange cars parked on the road at night, their headlights lingering too long. A fire sparked in my hay barn, though I managed to stamp it out before it spread. My mailbox was torn from the post and smashed in the dirt. Each act was small enough to dismiss, but together they formed a pattern, an unseen hand, tightening its grip. And yet, each time I thought about backing down, I'd picture Marlene's frozen face when the sheriff stepped inside the gate. That moment of raw fear told me the truth. They weren't invincible. They could be shaken, so I stayed. I reinforced the gate, added locks and chains. I doubled the fencing around the livestock pens. And every night, I kept the rifle close, my eyes scanning the horizon for whatever was coming next, because the sheriff was right. The fight had only just begun, and I intended to see it through, no matter how far they tried to push me.